It's a disaster.
If we don't have water, we can't cook, we can't do dishes.
Nobody's doing anything about it. It's just crazy.
Try to buy water, shelves are empty.
We ask that you be patient with us.
And we apologize profusely for this disruption.
People are without water, and this is not okay.
Our infrastructure is crumbling.
This was not an act of God. This was an act of negligence.
Atlanta News First starts now with breaking news.
Brand new video just in shows the moments a massive mess started for the city of Atlanta. Here is water bubbling, gushing out onto Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. Tonight, the water main break is affecting thousands of people and businesses across the heart of the city. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sean Gables.
And I'm Blair Miller. Right now, much of the city is under a boil water advisory. Let's show you this map here, because if you're in the impacted area, see here on your screen, that's the one in the red. You now have less than an hour before service shuts off. That's set for 5 o'clock. Major government buildings and landmarks across the city shut down earlier today, including Atlanta City Hall, the state Supreme Court, and the Georgia Aquarium.
You can see how big of a mess this is. Atlanta News First is bringing you live team coverage, looking at what this is going to mean for you, whether you have problems at home or you have plans to go out tonight. Let's start with Atlanta News First, Yasmina Alston. Yasmina, you're right in front of that water main break. There are thousands of gallons of water just pouring into the streets every single minute.
That's right, where we are right now. In that video that you saw when this all first started, look at what it looks like now. It's an absolute mess. There is water all up and down this street, and one of the issues that crews have run into now is that some of this water is actually getting into people's front yards. So they've started putting up barriers to try and stop the water from going into yards and also from going further down the street. We also had the opportunity to speak with the commissioner of the Department of Watershed about an hour ago, and he tells us that repairs are going to start at 5 o'clock. What that means is some areas will have water and some won't. The water will be turned on in the affected areas until 5 o'clock to give everyone time to prepare. There is a potential for an outage once those repairs do start. There's also a boil water advisory in place for Metro Atlanta. The lines where that water main break happened carry a lot of water to many parts of this city. And here was what the commissioner recommended for people who live or work in those impacted areas.
Yeah, I think it's safe to just prepare for a potential interruption. There's no guarantee, but I think it would be wise to prepare for a potential momentary interruption.
Yeah, and you can see there, that's one of those barriers that crews put up to try and stop that water from going into the front yard of that home. Again, there is a boil water advisory in place for Metro Atlanta, and those repairs are going to start within the next hour. Sean?
Yeah, it is 81 degrees outside. School is out. I am shocked I don't see kids playing in this water. Are city officials giving you any indication that they don't want kids to play in this water?
So we actually have seen a few kids that have come out here and tried to play in the water, but Atlanta police, they are set up on one side of the street to stop people from coming down into this area. And you can see that there are cones and tape up around this area to keep people from going through. And we've had some people who have tried to walk through the water to get to where they need to go, but crews out here have said they suggest that folks don't try and do that.
You know, Yasmina, your camera guy, he just spotted a group of kids right now playing in the water on the end of the street corner. It's hard to resist that when it's 81 degrees and school's out. I know you're going to stay on top of the story. We'll come back to you throughout the rest of the newscast. Thanks, Yasmina.
And as we've been showing people, the perspective there on the ground is significant. But here's another vantage point. This is the scene from the first alert chopper right over that same area. And you talk about it may be fun in some of the areas, but where that water is actually coming out, it may be pretty serious concern. And so two things to keep in mind. There's a boil water advisory in effect, and there could be service interruptions starting there at 5 o'clock.
And we've talked about these issues. It's impacting several locations. We're talking about Grady Memorial Hospital, the Georgia Aquarium, the Georgia State Capitol, Atlanta City Hall. all of them being impacted, experiencing low water pressure. Georgia Aquarium forced to shut down. The state capitol also has no water. Atlanta City Hall has dismissed early, as we mentioned at the start of this newscast, due to water issues. Now, on the east side, Zoo Atlanta closed early today. Some businesses in Little Five Points are unable to operate without water.
Yeah, and here's the situation there. Atlanta News First reporter Adam Murphy is live in Little Five Points with more there. Adam?
Hey, Blair. Yeah, a lot of people walking around trying to figure out what's going on here in Little Five. And I had an opportunity a short while ago to speak with the owner of Higher Taste. It's a vegan comfort food restaurant that you see right here. You'll notice they are closed. They have that sign in the door. They told me they had 0 water pressure. They don't even have enough water to boil, so they are closed. And it's unclear how long this will impact local businesses here in Little Five Points. This is a very busy area with a lot of people walking around, but time is money, and it will most likely be a near total loss for some of the businesses for the day, especially restaurants or dry cleaners that are in this area that cannot operate. And the manager of Higher Taste said they lost their water pressure early this morning, and as a result, they will lose out on at least $1,000 worth of business today.
It's just a trickle, whatever is just left in those pipes, so if we don't have water, we can't cook, we can't do dishes.
Can't do much, especially if you're a restaurant. So as you can see right now, some people mingling around here in the Little Five area, and a lot of people have been coming up asking us what's going on. They want to know more about it, how this happened, when it's going to be fixed, and obviously a lot of these questions they're asking, we're trying to get those answers. We're going to continue to press officials to try to learn more as the afternoon and evening continues, but it's going to be quite a while, and I'm sure will definitely impact many businesses around Atlanta, especially here in Little Five. Adam Murphy, Atlanta News First.
And Atlanta News First anchor Savannah Louie is at the First Alert Breaking News desk.
And Savannah, help on this is coming in from some other areas as well.
Yeah, and that's how big this issue is here. DeKalb County now sending a water tanker to Atlanta to help with some of those ongoing water outages after this morning's water main break. DeKalb County Fire says the truck will provide 3,000 gallons of clean water to areas in need while those crews work to repair that break. The truck is being sent now to Atlanta Fire Station 1. That's over near Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Atlanta News First investigative reporter Sierra Cumming live at Grady. Sierra, some very important alerts headed into tonight. One of them, there have been some cancellations of minor surgeries at Grady.
Yeah, despite those cancellations because of the water issues, you can tell right behind me, it's not a whole lot of commotion at Grady. But when we got here earlier this afternoon, we saw several people leaving. One woman told us she was signing in to see her primary care physician. She was told to go home. Another man had some lower back pain. He was walking into the ER, but he decided to go to another facility as a result. So not so much of a mass exodus, but we still have some important information to you. So because of that water main break, both Emory Hospital Midtown and Grady canceled all elective and non-urgent procedures. They've been alerting affected patients all day today. Appointments will be rescheduled for a later date. It's worth noting, even prior to disruption of water service, the Grady Hospital's emergency room was already overcrowded today, according to Georgia Coordinating Center. That's the agency which provides data for EMS crews. We found Grady was diverting some patients to other facilities as early as 2 o'clock this morning. Hear from one of the physicians here at Grady.
Everybody needs taken care of, as usual. In spite of all of these problems, they do a good job. Grady always does. Been doing it for 32 years since I've been here. And they've probably done it 32 years after I leave here.
So a little bit of optimism there. It's unclear when operations will return to normal at both Emory Hospital Midtown and here at Grady. But considering we've got that boil water advisory, it's likely this situation will last through the weekend. We should tell you, though, if you have a true emergency situation, they are still accepting ER patients.
From the First Alert shopper, water is now being shut off in multiple neighborhoods. You're looking at a live image. Just look at all that water gushing out. Well, tonight, city crews just getting started on repairing a massive water main break.
A huge chunk of the city is being told to boil water for safety until further notice. Take a look here. This map shows the impacted area where you may be getting no water or lower water pressure, and leaders want you to boil your water before drinking it.
Thanks for joining us live at 5. I'm Tracy Hutchins.
And I'm Alan Devlin. Atlanta News First has team coverage live at 5 across the city tonight with some pretty important information.
Yasmina Alston is in West Atlanta at the site of that break. And Yasmina, this all started 8 a.m. this morning. All these hours later, tonight people all over the city could be impacted.
Tracy, that's right. Like you said, this water has been flooding this intersection for hours now. If you look behind me, you can see just how much water is filling this part of the street. And for that reason, we've actually been asked to move to the other side of the street. We do know that repairs are supposed to start any second now at 5 o'clock. What that means is there will be citywide water service disruption. That could be no water at all or low water pressure. There is also a boil water advisory in place for Metro Atlanta. The Department of Watershed Management is calling for water restriction to critical use only so that system pressures can rebuild. The lines where that water main break happened carry a lot of water to many parts of this city. The commissioner telling us if you're in an impacted area to be prepared.
Yeah, I think it's safe to just prepare for a potential interruption. There's no guarantee, but I think it would be wise to prepare for a potential momentary interruption.
And again, there is that boil water advisory in place for Metro Atlanta. We do know that repairs are starting here any second now, so you should be prepared for possible disruptions to your water service. The commissioner did not give us a timeline for when we can expect those repairs to be complete, but we'll, of course, keep you updated as we continue to learn more. We're live in Northwest Atlanta. Yasmina Alston, Atlanta News First.
Breaking news live at 5, a race to fix a broken water main having a ripple effect on tons of families and businesses in Atlanta. We're talking about thousands and thousands. Repairs happening right now at Joseph E. Boone Boulevard and James Brawley Drive. You can see a live image right now of those repairs, or at least the beginning of what will likely be repairs. Crews just started working 45 minutes ago, and there's no word on how long this could take.
Yeah, they still have to shut the water off so they can get in there and do what they need to do. Well, hospitals, bars, even Waffle House, all impacted by this water emergency. It's flowing down the street, but not to those businesses. Atlanta News First reporter Blake Devine live at 5 near the Krog Street Market, 3.5 miles away from where the water main break is. But Blake, a lot of restaurants, they are losing business because of this.
Tracy and Alan, that's exactly right. We're here on the Beltline in the Krog District where there's a lot less people out and about than a typical Friday night. This is all because of this water main break, which has affected many of the businesses around here, which has shut down several restaurants in the area along with the entire Krog Street Market. This is where we spotted several signs reading that the market is closed with a lock draped over the doors. And it's not the only major tourist attraction that's been interrupted, as the Georgia Aquarium, World of Coca-Cola, and Georgia State Capitol are all currently closed. This has left plenty of perplexed people unsure of what to do with their Friday night plans, having them put on pause.
Of course, it's closed because they have no water. And just wanted to come up in Krog because we assumed that the other Jennies may be open. They were closed as well.
Have you ever seen it so empty on a Friday night in the
Absolutely
summer?
not, man. I'm very used to Krog. I'm very used to this area, and this is a letdown, to be honest.
Now, one interesting note, just across the street on the Beltline, all those businesses are operating as usual, as they seem to have no water problems. But just on the side of the street that I'm standing on, all of these businesses are currently shut down. Reporting live from the Krog District, Blake Devine, Atlanta News First.
Yeah, a lot of people moving to the other side of the street, right, to get
yeah.
some food. Well, you saw all that water running down the street earlier. Atlanta News First investigates, checked, and found the city loses billions of gallons of water every year because of issues just like today's water main break.
Investigative reporter Andy Parati continues our team coverage. So, Andy, you learned it may be getting worse.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. Most cities struggle with water loss due to aging infrastructure, broken fire hydrants, or leaks. But take a look at these numbers from the city of Atlanta. According to audits of the city's water system, the amount of water loss has steadily increased since 2019 from about 7 billion gallons to nearly 12 billion in 2022. To put that in perspective, 12 billion gallons is enough to fill every tank at the Georgia Aquarium more than 1,000 times. Over the past few years, the city has spent hundreds of millions of dollars upgrading its water system. That includes a $320 million water plant at the West Side Quarry. This water is for emergencies and consistently has about 30 days worth of supply for Atlanta. When the quarry is full, it holds up to about 90 days of water. The city has not indicated it needs to dip into that emergency supply after today, but it's there in case the city needs it. Andy Parati, Atlanta News First, investigates.
Text the word water to 470-777 WANF right now to stay on top of breaking developments with the water main break, its impacts, and a timeline on repairs.
Atlanta News First starts now with breaking news.
We are following breaking news at 6. Atlanta watershed crews are in an hour-to-hour effort to fix outages and low water pressure. This is the 6th. I'm Sean Gables.
And I'm Blair Miller. A boil water advisory is in effect right now. We are also just learning tonight's Megan Thee Stallion show at State Farm Arena has just been postponed. So pay attention to your image on your screen right now, because this red box here shows you the impacted neighborhoods stretching from west of Cascade Road in southwest Atlanta through downtown and all the way to Moreland Avenue in East Atlanta.
Outages and low water pressure began shortly after a massive pipe snapped this morning. Video right here showing water streaming by the gallons full at Joseph E. Boone Boulevard in northwest Atlanta. City officials say the pipes, they hope that it will move a lot of water through the city and they can get this fixed.
And tonight we have live team coverage all across the city for you.
We begin with Atlanta News First, Yasmina Alston. Yasmina, you've been speaking with officials since water began shooting out of those pipes.
That's right, and watershed officials told us they didn't have a timeline for when these repairs would be complete. They were scheduled to start at 5 o'clock, and so far we've watched as crews put up these barricades here, and it appears that they're going to start closing either side of this street as those repairs start. Now, once they do begin, that means there will be citywide water service disruption. That could mean no water at all or low water pressure. There is also a boil water advisory in place for Metro Atlanta. The Department of Watershed Management is calling for water restriction to critical use only so that system pressures can rebuild. The lines where that water main break happened carry a lot of water to many parts of this city. The commissioner telling us earlier, if you're in an impacted area, to be prepared.
Yeah, I think it's safe to just prepare for a potential interruption. There's no guarantee, but I think it would be wise to prepare for a potential momentary interruption.
And you can see just how much water there is after this water main break. And this has been happening since early this morning. This water main break first happened at 8 o'clock this morning. So you can imagine just how much water has been rushing out onto this street since then. Again, there is a boil water advisory in place for Metro Atlanta, and those repairs were scheduled to start at 5 o'clock. So far, we've seen crews put these barricades up here on the road. And again, officials told us earlier today that there is no timeline for when we can expect these repairs to be completed, but we'll of course stay on top of it throughout the night and bring you the latest. Live in Northwest Atlanta, Yasmina Alston, Atlanta News First.
Now let's bring in investigative reporter Sierra Cummings, who continues our live team coverage outside Grady Memorial Hospital. And Sierra, Grady has canceled all elective and non-urgent procedures and appointments there today.
Yeah, despite those cancellation and the water issues here, not a whole lot of commotion outside of Grady. We talked to several people who were leaving when we got here earlier this afternoon. One woman told me she had come to see her primary care physician. She was told to go home. Another man had lower back pain, and as he was walking into the ER because of the situation, he decided to go to another facility. But still, not a mass exodus. However, we've got some information you need to know about headed into your evening here tonight. So the water main break caused both Emory Hospital Midtown and Grady to cancel all elective and non-urgent procedures. They've been alerting affected patients all day. Appointments will be rescheduled for a later date. It's worth noting, even prior to the disruption of water service, Grady Hospital's emergency room was already overcrowded today. According to Georgia Coordinating Center, that's the agency which provides data for EMS crews. We found Grady was diverting some patients to other facilities as early as 2 o'clock this morning. But Dr. Marvin Crawford says the priority remained much of the same today, putting patient safety first.
Everybody needs taken care of, as usual. In spite of all of these problems, they do a good job. Grady always does. Been doing it for 32 years since I've been here. And they've probably done it 32 years after I leave here.
Unfortunately, it's unclear when both Grady and Emory Hospital Midtown will resume normal operations. But considering we've got that boil water advisory, it's likely this will be a situation going into the weekend. However, if you've got a true emergency situation, the ER is still accepting patients. I'm Yvette Grady. Sierra Cummings, Atlanta News First investigates.